Today is just different because we're going to be diving into one of the greatest cartoons of all freaking time. You read the title, SpongeBob SquarePants. So grab a bite to eat, because this is about to get crazy. Today we're going to be diving into Season 7, Episode 7, Squidward and Clarinet Land. I find this particular episode very weird and creepy, so before we get into this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you would like, and without further ado, let's get into this video. Now this episode kicks off with Squidward riding his bike to work on a peaceful day when the car in front of him just completely burns out in this man's face. But Squidward didn't care. He was in a fantastic mood today, so he keeps smiling and makes it to work. But when this man Squidward walks in, SpongeBob comes in behind him and just crushes this man behind the door. But even this didn't bother Squidward. He just keeps smiling and heads to his workstation. Yeah, this alone is enough to make this episode creepy because when is this man ever in a good mood? Now he gets his first customer, and when he opens his mouth to order, we find out this guy came in with that horrific morning breath. Just look at this. His breath is so stinky, it's literally beating Squidward's ass. Bruh, I definitely knew a few kids like this back in high school, but guess what? This also didn't faze Squidward. He says, "One Krabby Patty coming up." Mr. Krabs was like, "You're in a chipper mood today, Squidward. Did you get your fancy soaps in the mail this morning or something?" Mr. Krabs was low-key flaming this man. But yeah, Squidward says, "Nah, my guy, I have a clarinet recital right after work today, so ain't nothing gonna ruin my mood today." And right after saying this, he gets squirted with milk. I swear it's like the universe is trying to balance itself out, so it keeps trying to piss Squidward off, but it's not working. He was like, "It's cool. See, not a drop on my clarinet." And this is when things change quickly. This baby drools on his clarinet, and Squidward just loses it. This man, Mr. Krabs, was on the phone schooling some old lady about the Krusty Krab not having early bird specials when Squidward walks in super angry. He says, "This is unacceptable. I would not allow my personal items to keep being damaged at work. I demand a place to put my stuff." And of course, Mr. Krabs was being cheap about this. He didn't want to buy Squidward a locker, but Squidward hits him with the book of regulations, and this book just terrifies Mr. Krabs. Just look at him. He knows he has to follow the rules in this book. So guess what he does? Instead of buying Squidward a new locker, he just finds his old Navy locker. And you can just imagine how old it is. This man SpongeBob just got his whole arm bitten off. And when Mr. Krabs opens up the locker, we see a dead body inside. Mr. Krabs says,
"That appears to be Corporal Sterling, lad. Forgot all about that prank."
Wow, now that's messed up. He tosses out this man's dead body like it was nothing and calls Squidward to tell him that his locker was ready. He also tells Squidward that he's required by law to share the locker with SpongeBob. Yeah, those rules came right back to bite you. So SpongeBob cleans out the locker because, you know, this man's a sponge and all. And Squidward sets his clarinet in. He also tells SpongeBob to not touch his clarinet under any circumstances. SpongeBob promises him he won't touch it and says he finally has somewhere to store his toothbrush. Yeah, that thing hasn't been used in ages. Now over the course of the day, we see SpongeBob doing little things to the locker, like adding velvet to the inside, which Squidward really didn't have a problem with at first, but we all know who we're dealing with here. Of course my guy SpongeBob goes overboard with the improvements. Now Squidward was taking a customer's order when we see SpongeBob coming in with hella items. Like, how did this man plan on stuffing all that stuff in that tiny ass locker? Surely he will be squishing Squidward's clarinet in the process. He walks in the back and says, "I hope you're not planning on stuffing all that stuff in this locker." SpongeBob was like, "Too late." Squidward was like, "You better have not squished my stuff, bruh." And this is when the episode starts to get really weird. When I first seen this episode for the first time, I couldn't believe believe what SpongeBob had did to this locker. This man says, "Oh, I expanded a bit." A bit? Man, I guess SpongeBob. Now he tells Squidward to find his clarinet. He must consult the card catalog and find Squidward's clarinet, drawer 36.8-B. See, it's there. Now my guy Squidward didn't have a problem with this as long as he knew where it was. But of course, SpongeBob takes it a step further. Squidward was trying to take a customer's order, but couldn't because SpongeBob was being hella loud in the back. Now this is when things get very strange. Squidward goes in the locker and he couldn't believe his eyes. He goes to the spot where his clarinet was and all he finds is this note. Now this note says that he had moved his clarinet to locker 1018.2-E. So Squidward finds this locker, but he was met by another note. Now this note had said, "Oh, did I say locker 1018.2-E? What I meant to say was locker 2019.3-F." And at this point, SpongeBob was just trolling this man. So Squidward gets pissed and starts walking around yelling SpongeBob's name trying to find him. And this man SpongeBob is just running around like this is some game. So Squidward comes across this locker and this is where things really start to take a disturbing turn. He pulls these curtains back and he is met with this weird clarinet universe. He says, "What is this place?" And when he looks down, he sees what appears to be his clarinet. This is when it gets snatched up by SpongeBob and he takes off with it. Squidward chases him and this is when he bumps into this huge eagle head. He says,
"I am the keeper
of Hornet Forest.
State your business here."
Now Squidward tells this man he's just trying to find his clarinet. The eagle says, "Your clarinet?" He says, "Yeah, my clarinet, which I am the proud owner of." Now the eagle starts laughing and says, "No one can own a clarinet. Why don't you tell me why you're really here?" Now this eagle head didn't take a light to what Squidward was saying, because when Squidward says, "You calling me a liar?" he grabs this man with his tongue, tells him he needs to learn more respect, and completely crushes this man's bones. Now he swallows this man and he ends up seeing SpongeBob inside the bird's stomach, which was pretty weird because I never saw SpongeBob get swallowed in the first place. He says, "Stand still, you idiot." So he tackles this man and they both fall, but somehow Squidward is the only one who ends up in this box. Then we see SpongeBob trap this man inside. Like, what the f is going on right now? Squidward turns to his left and sees this evil version of himself just being super weird. He smells the clarinet and then he puts the entire thing in his mouth. Yeah, this episode is just all over the place. Everything about this is just weird as hell, considering this all started from that one little locker. Like, who's cooking the food and taking the orders while all of this craziness is going on? This man even ends up chasing him through space trying to get this clarinet back. Now the crazy part is that when Squidward finally tackles him, he just comes face to face with the door of the locker. It opens and we can just see by the look on Squidward's face that he had been through hell and back. Now all of that was just going on in Squidward's head apparently, because SpongeBob had never been inside the locker with Squidward. When he pulls out his clarinet later in this episode, he tells Squidward that he kept it with him this whole time because of all the ruckus he was making over it, to make sure that it was safe. SpongeBob is a grade A troll, man, I swear. And as you can see, Squidward wasn't trying to hear none of that shit. He gets pissed. SpongeBob says, "Call it a friendly jester." He then throws this man in a locker, chains it shut, and throws the entire locker on a bus. I mean, I say it's well deserved because this man SpongeBob was definitely trolling this man Squidward with this locker situation. And also at the end of this episode, when Squidward was about to perform at his clarinet recital, he opens up the box and gets a huge surprise. This man SpongeBob somehow got out the locker and had found his way to Squidward's clarinet case, and Squidward just couldn't take it anymore. Bruh, this episode was just all over the place and weird. But let me know what you guys think about this episode of SpongeBob in the comments down below. And if you would like to see similar videos, check out these videos here on the screen. But until next time, peace.